This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Road America has been the scene of some of the most fascinating and intense battles here in the PRL. The long straights, the ample opportunities for overtakes, and the fuel-thirsty nature of this track primes the drivers and the viewers for an unpredictable ride. Will Modoff spoil that party and make it a hat trick of wins to start the season? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing eSports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Elkhart Lake has seen everything from Can-Am to IndyCar to IMSA and NASCAR even. It's tough to find circuits that are this versatile, so let's head down to our track guide and see why it works so well for so many series. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But 2 of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. You see some of the views here around in Wisconsin, and we've been here a lot, Adam, but there's good reason. The drivers love this place. It puts on a good show. There's hardly any reason to avoid it here.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's actually probably my favorite American road course. Next up would be Watkins Glen, and yes, I'm biased on this next one. I'm going to throw in COTA on that one. I've even got my COTA shirt on today. But here today, Road America, like I said, my favorite American road course, 14 turns, a little bit over 4 miles, a little bit over 6.5 kilometers. Joe, you already hit the nail on the head. What I always like to talk about this place is just everything that runs here. If you're an American motorsport that goes around a track, so not counting drag racing or anything else, although you could probably do drag racing on the front stretch here, you do everything, and it's nuts to see. It's a great facility to go to if you ever get a chance, and should put on a good show here with these PRL GTE machines.
Always has in the past when PRL comes to here just about every season, it seems. But as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the Teams Championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Those championships, by the way, with 2 rounds down, have points that we need to go over. Starting off with the drivers, of course. Carl Modoff, with him having won both, is up at the front. Christian Eisler's keeping him in touch, managing to get on the podium both times there. Just 9 points back, and there's only 3 behind, down to Abner Acosta, who's not only been quick in the warm-up, but here in qualifying, which we'll go over in a minute. Abner could find himself being a big challenger here for Modoff today, as we've been watching those two trying to duel for much of the season. Ignacio Fredes and Horatio Calquin round out your top 5. Let's go to the Teams Championship after that, Adam.
Yeah, this Teams Championship, of course, when you talk about the Teams Championship, yeah, even though it's a 34-point gap, it still can change around in a race with Punta CL Racing Blue up there by 34 points over RSR eSport. GTR SimSport, though, only 36 behind. SRT eSport Blue, 43 points behind. So very tight battle between second, third, and fourth. Go back a little bit to fifth. That's where you'll find Racer Motors at 62 behind your leaders. Once again, Punta CL Racing Blue.
Now, if you've never watched the PRL GTE Sports Car Series, welcome aboard. You're in for a treat. We're in round 4 out of 10. They get 1 drop week in this series that will come into play for a few drivers, especially the ones who had a bad week last week. They've got 4 different makes of cars that they are allowed to use, and, they cannot switch cars, which we'll go over in a minute because that is apparently going to affect this race a little bit with one of our fast drivers. It's a 60-minute race that they'll be running with an open setup on all 4 cars so they can tweak them to their liking, but they've limited the fuel, so expect a single pit stop during this race. They have an incident cap as well, so if you hit 20 incidents, you will be disqualified. And then there you can see they give a bonus point for the fastest lap for the pole or for fewer than 3 incidents in the race today. It's been very, very changeable conditions. It's been a talking point a lot. You can see it there. Thankfully, one thing that is clear is always IESN, where you're watching this right now. Make sure and subscribe to the iRacing eSports Network. Very simple to do. Just click on the big red button that says subscribe. Adam, I'm looking at the temperature. It's pretty warm, but those clouds have been in and out all warm up long, essentially.
Yeah, and now even going into qualifying, seeing quite a bit of change in cloud cover here. That's part of the dynamic skies that iRacing put in a while back, and it's really, really seeing it here today with sun and parts of the track. I mean, bright sun parts of the track and a little bit cloudier in others. I mean, it's a large facility, so you'll kind of get that variation, and it's all moving. So that's leading to that track temperature air temperature 81, track temperature at 93, and I actually just saw it go down to 92. Southwest winds at 10 miles an hour. So it's a nice variation in the weather, and I think it's just going to add to the excitement because you might be setting your car up for maybe being a little slicker, but if you end up with the cloud, it might end up more grip and vice versa. So adds the extra dynamic.
I was talking a little bit earlier about drivers cannot change cars during the season. We were trying to listen in to see if we could get clarification on what's going to happen with poor Christopher Pfeffer, who is supposed to be driving the Ford GT this season, but right now he's in the BMW M8. He's the number 66 car. Hasn't set a time yet, but it does look like he intends to race, and I believe they are going to let him race. But it is a question on whether or not he will score points and take a penalty, or if he will simply be removed from the results on this race and won't score any points at all. You can see him coming around now through turn 3 and heading down the Moraine sweep. But our provisional pole sitter is Abner Acosta at the moment, and Modoff's only in 3rd.
Yeah, and I've been actually going back to the car situation there, Joe. I've been trying to find it in the rules, and the only thing the rules here states is that, and it's kind of what we talked about before, I think on the last broadcast, because it's like this in trucks. After the first race, you cannot change your team and car at any point throughout the season. Now, it doesn't mention a penalty for that, so we don't know if Christopher Pfeffer is going to be scored with points today, or if he's going to just have some sort of deduction, or what. But it'll be interesting to see. But Anthony Pisano on your screen there. Oh wow, right there you just saw setting a new fastest lap for him. So he's down to almost a 2-minute 0.2 flat there, almost. But that's still well off Abner Acosta. He's just flying quick here today.
Yeah, Acosta's got a 159.7. Pisano was leading the warm-up charts for a little bit of it as well, so he could find himself higher up. He's only in 6th at the moment, on the outside of that third row. Ream is our second place driver currently. Diego Garrido has come back in once again and is currently in 4th, just ahead of Christian Eisler in 5th place. And I think actually Eisler's getting ready to finish a lap right now, so I wonder if we might see him improve with his return to form that he's had lately. Oh, looks like that one did not count for Eisler as we were watching Pisano there on screen in his Ferrari. There's Eisler now coming down into turn 1, give it another go.
Yeah, and that's one thing that not really talked about here too much, but it is. It's actually kind of easy to get off track some places if you push just a touch too hard. So
looks like Acosta's going to finish another lap. He's got a 10th and a quarter over Justin Ream. Let's see as he crosses the line here. It is quicker, just barely by 0.03 of a second. So doesn't extend it by a huge margin, but at least puts himself farther out of reach. See what Hamill can do. He's currently riding 24th, but he got a nice run up the hill. It's not going to be quicker, though, even though he was behind Simkovic. Sano going to come into pit lane, so he feels like he is not able to improve because we're down to 1 minute left, and that's definitely not enough time to get back out there and get a lap started. Goes by and does not set a time. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, a bunch of these guys right now just racing to try to get back to that line in the next 40 seconds. That way they can try to at least get one more chance here. But at the same time, go ahead.
I was going to say, I see Jay Steffi coming across the Club West drivers down in 30 seconds, so he's really got to try and push to get himself something better. He's only set one timed lap, and he's still only going to have one timed lap because that one didn't count again, just with 20 seconds left here.
Just watching an instant, Garrido was slow on track, and it looked like William Janssen ended up running into him. Don't know if they were just messing around, but Janssen was on a flyer at the time.
And Ken Huber improves up to 18th with his last lap. There's Pfeffer coming across, finally sets a time, and that is good enough for 8th place. Wow, just in the dying stages as his checkered flag comes out.
We got Leif Peterson here coming up. Yeah, he's heading up the hill.
See what the Texan can do. His quickest is a 2:08.
Still running that Lamberti racing scheme that he had last night at Daytona.
Yep, and it wasn't quicker. He was less than a 10th off. Dezube slows. He's not going to try and improve there. What about Espinoza? We still got Modov cycling around. He's going to be a while coming back around with the long length you have to run to finish a lap here. Espinoza abandons his and ducks it into pit lane. Villegas, who currently runs in 14th, comes off of Bill Mitchell bend and gets ready to head up the hill. And he also is not happy, so not many drivers taking this final lap, it seems. Jay Steffi, who we mentioned earlier, has been struggling to try and keep it on the track. He'll be followed by Paulo Munoz, who's currently running in 9th. In fact, he's giving Munoz a big old toe, and up the front stretch, you really want that.
Yeah, if Pat finally has to pull out here to avoid running in the back of him, and what can you do? Nah, didn't do anything. What did Jay Steffi do? Ran a 2:03. I think we got a few more guys coming up here,
including Modoff, who crosses the line now. Oh, but he stays in second with that 59.831. He managed to go faster than Justin Rame on his previous lap, and I think that's everybody. So let's go through our starting grid, rather. Starting it is a Freudian slip if I've ever heard one. Abner Costa is on the pole with Carl Modoff next to him. So those two rivals are going to be at it again. We'll see how the race unfolds. Justin Rame will be starting in third position with Diego Garrido in P4. Christian Eisler will be starting in fifth, and Anthony Pisano is not able to get too much higher. He stays in sixth place here in the qualifying. Tyler DeZube starts seventh today. Christopher Pfeffer will be taking part in the race, but we'll find out later whether or not he actually gets points. He'll start eighth today. Paulo Munoz, ninth for him, and then Ignacio Portal rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, Horatio Calquin, he's going to start in 11th in row 6. Alongside him be Eduardo Brock. In row 7 will be Ignacio Fredes, and then Caleb John Lavender starting alongside him. In row 8, 15th spot, Jorge Villegas alongside Jan-Marc Tremblay. Leif Peterson will be in 17th alongside Andres Espinoza. David Wino and Ken Huber will make up row 10.
21st will be William Jansen with Sean Romig in 22nd. Then you got Jason Ray in 23rd. Robert Elder will be on his outside in the 24th spot. Brett Thurman, 25th for him. Sean Duhamel will be starting at 26th. And Kenny Rodriguez, a bit far down here, but starting in 27th. Jeff Carollo will be P28th. Then you've got James Hebb in 29th and Mike Burnett in 30th.
In 31st position, we got Chase Monday starting there. Joey Trungale alongside him, Jay Steffi, then Donald Olson. Christopher Albright and Spencer Simkwich will be making up row 18, and shotgun on the field tonight will be Gary Schilling.
You can see they're now lining up on the grid. So as we wait for them to get that pace lap done, want to take another quick reminder you of our sponsors here for this season. And if you want to check either of them out, SimMSA is once again at SimMSA.net. And that is the Simulation Motorsports Affinity. ButtKicker can be found at thebuttkicker.com. So they obviously provide all kinds of cool stuff for your sim rig to make it a more realistic experience. At this point, we're just waiting on a couple more to find their ways out there. Current weather hasn't changed drastically. It's gone a little bit down, I think, since we looked at it in qualifying, about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. The thing that I find interesting is the wind's been a little bit high, but it doesn't seem like it's kicking around a whole lot here, Adam.
Yeah, not a lot of variation in the wind. Temperature continues to go down. I think that's more of the variation that we're seeing in the cloud cover too. That's one thing I'd be interested to know from iRacing is like where is that air temperature sampled at? Where is that track temperature sampled at? Is it an average across the entire track? I mean, because now you got all the moving clouds and everything. It could be different. You could actually have a few degrees difference, especially in track temperature between one end and the other. So that I don't know. That's maybe I need to send them an email on that or something.
I'd like to find that out too. I've always kind of wondered that myself. And when you get to places like the Nürburgring, then it really makes a difference across the track. As now you see the whole field coming down. It's a relatively large field here today, 37 cars taking part. And that is going to be quite a bit of machinery clogging up the track. As
large field. That's a small field for us the last couple of nights.
It's true. That's true.
Woo. But I mean, of course, this one, all GTE cars here today is, still 37 cars, 37 GTEs screaming around Road America. That's plenty enough, and they'll put on a good show for today. Of course, I'm referring to the fact that we had the majors Sunday night, we had Autobahn last night, both at Daytona, and now making the trip up north here to Wisconsin. Joe, I feel like I need to be in Back to the Future, and I need a DeLorean in the car though, because we started Sunday in May, then we went to January last night, and now here we are in April, the virtual standard time. So,
go figure. Well, every league kind of does it their own way in terms of figuring out what date they want the race to take place in the sim. It's always fascinating to see which ones are real persnickety about that, I guess you could say. As now we watch Leif Peterson. And this is one of those paint schemes that you and I were really loving last night.
And you really see it here during the day, and it's that like light blue foil look to it. And like I did last night, every time I see a Lamberti racing scheme, I gotta say hi to my buddy there, Tony Lamberti. Used to be really big on iRacing, still hangs out quite a bit. Of course, had a stroke a few years ago, and always hoping that he just keeps fighting and keeps living, because he's a great dude. So, but he's well represented out there.
Yep, he's actually raced on our channel before. We wish him the best as well. You can see his name there on the banner of the Porsche. They're already coming around the carousel at this point and heading up to one of the more dangerous spots, coming up to the kink. Man, we've seen in some faster cars it's scary enough going through there too wide. In these GTE cars, this has got to be a nightmare if you find yourself with someone brave enough to try and go side by side with you.
Yeah, and it's not going to be somewhere where I think we're going to see a lot of side-by-side. I saw quite a few accidents there in practice, and I'm hoping people will give each other some room through there, because it could get very, very tight in a very, very much of a hurry. If you do go side-by-side there, though, whoever's behind you is going to be looking at it as an opportunity, because you cannot do that full speed.
Certainly, it'll slow both drivers up significantly. And it takes you down into a very popular place to pass right here into Canada Corner. So we're right on board with one of our mid-packers, it looks like. You just see the Porsche pace car coming around that turn before finally we get to it here. Only a couple more corners, then we get set free for 60 minutes of racing with one pit stop for fuel to take place during this race. That could be a tricky moment where someone potentially tries to use the draft of some other cars to save a bit and get a jump in the pit stops. We'll watch and see who tries to use that trick. But a Porsche pace car now coming off and into the pit lane. Abner Acosta does not wait at all. He immediately accelerates away as they climb the hill. Modov has no response. He starts to fall back, and he's going to give a big draft to both Rame and Garrido. Is either of them going to try and make an attack up into the first corner? And where is he going to place his car? He's got it just about halfway. That gives Ream a chance to look to the inside, and Garrido almost gets into the back of him. They managed to keep it going behind them, though it looks like it is clear.
Yeah, for the most part, everybody getting out of their turn one. And it looks like, for the most part, as the rest of the field approaches turn two, I think looks like clean through there as well, which turn two, I see a lot of problems at starts of the races here at Road America, but not today. Now, for second place, the battle is still on. Ream now trying to hold off Garrido. Garrido goes to the grass, gets into Ream. Ream is going to make contact. Stayed out of the wall, but catches it. Garrido again when he comes back across the track. They will both fall very deep down the running order.
Oof. And I hate how we keep bringing it up, but it was Garrido again on the first lap. And that is, we'll come back to the replay in a bit, and Garrido returns in 21st after that incident. I wonder if turn 5 would be the place where finally things stop being clean. Acosta and Modov are enjoying that, because that's given them a gap of almost 2 seconds back to Pisano in third place. And if there's two drivers that want to stretch away from everybody else right now, it's these two.
Yeah, and don't think that they don't know who's in third now. Anthony Pisano, and he was very quick. He was consistently, let me add that, he was consistently quick in warm-up earlier today. And they know that they need to try to run away from him while they can, because he could be a threat here later on today. I see a spin in Canada. Let's try to see who that is.
Zube. I'm trying to catch him because he keeps going down the order so fast on my timing and scoring.
Ben's out of seventh place.
Oh, man, he's all the way down to 27th, it looks like. Let's watch the replay on this one, because it looks like we've got that spooled up right now.
Yeah, it looked like he went in just a little bit hot. Had a good run, and ended up having to get on the binders, I think, a little bit harder than what he wanted to stay out of the back of Eisler, who is right in front of me. We've got it right now getting ready to come up here into Canada. going down the last part of the backstretch, gets in there just a touch too hot, tries to stay out of the car, and then does the safe option. Unfortunately, it doesn't hurt his, unfortunately, it's going to hurt his race quite a bit, but he does still have a car, and Eisler has a car too.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing for both drivers. Now, Paulo Munoz just got a spot from Christopher Pfeffer. That moves him into 5th place. Pfeffer's up to 6th already after starting in P8. Some of that was from the attrition in front of him. They're being chased by Ignacio Hortal. That's the number 59 you see just behind them, the Porsche. As they come through turn 6, we got a train of cars here, really. Gach is in there, Cal Quinn, Fredes, I see. And then finally, you get a little bit of a break to John Lavender, Caleb John Lavender back there in 11th.
Yeah, but outside of that, for the most part, guys still running nose tail. See a Porsche there, trying to see who that is. Just put a little bit of a wheel off.
Got an offer to Duino as well. Looks like he's fallen all the way to the tail of the pack, and he's going to come back in 35th.
Yeah, that was out of 16th position, and that was Garrido.
Oh boy. Let's take a look at the incident at the very beginning. We don't need to see what happened between Garrido and the other driver. Actually, Garrido's disappeared on my screen just as we went away here, so we'll try and get up to date on what happened there. Meanwhile, this is the incident down into turn 5 on the very first lap. This is going to be with Ream. He just tried to go for a gap that plain wasn't there. Ream was a passenger at that point, and I guess in a weird way of karma, he comes back right in front of Garrido. Up at the lead, Acosta is in front of Modov right now. He's got about 0.7 of a second over Carl, and they've already stretched to 2.5 seconds over Pisano. If Anthony's got pace in it, he's got to start showing it because he's been losing ground quickly.
Yeah, he's not quite showing what I saw in practice earlier on, but we know he's got it. I think it's just a matter of bringing it out. But if he's not careful, he's going to have the likes of Eisler, Munoz, and Pfeffer back to the back of him here before too long. Meanwhile, of course, talk about Modov and Acosta, and they were setting sail. And actually here the last couple of corners, Acosta's been able to start gadding a little bit to the lead over top of Modov. So that'll be interesting here if Modov, to see if that just kind of, he comes back, catches up, comes back. I don't know. We'll see how the next few laps go.
He had quite a bit of pace. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit of pace. At least after the pit stops, quite a bit of pace over Abner. Acosta wasn't really challenged all that much by the end of things. Abner today has flipped the script and is easily controlling things. It's up to 1 second now over Karl Modov, so he's continuing to gap him by small margins, small but important margins.
And all it takes is a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with somebody is just as skilled as Karl Modov is.
Well, in a track like this where the draft can keep your competitor in very easily, this is big for Abner Acosta. Looking behind them, looks like we might have a change for 4th because Munoz has now caught Eisler, and he's going to look to the inside. The Iceman does not defend, but he breaks late enough, and he almost squeezes him down to the apex. Manages to come out the other side and hold the spot. This is slowing them up a little bit. Oh, and a bad exit from Christian. This is going to hand it on a silver platter over to Paulo Munoz. And he's easily by before they even get to the braking. Now Christopher Pfeffer is going to size him up. I was just about to say, those two fighting is allowing Christopher to start to get into the mix.
Yeah, I mean, he's right there along with Hertal. He's drug Hertal right up there with him. And in turn, you got Guac, Calquin, and Fredes back there as well. Ooh, Fredes actually just looking at him, almost bumping gores there with Andres Espinoza, but they're able to stay off each other. That's a whole nother pack. Ready to catch this one.
Yeah, down through the hurried downs. Fredes still chasing Espinoza. Not close enough to attack him into there. See if maybe he can stay within this distance until they get to Canada Corner. Very different lines between the two cars down through the carousel. Who's it going to work out better for? And I have to say that Espinosa looks a lot stronger, especially when Fredez nearly spins it off the turn. Plunging into Canada Corner now. Not going to have the chance that we're waiting to see if Fredez would have. This brings Lavender close. Lavender racing in 12th. Oh, behind them, though, that's a big off from Villegas. He might actually lose a position. He's side by side up and over Bill Mitchell Bend with Garrido going through. Now it looks like Tremblay is going to get a spot, and Peterson's going to try and capitalize as well.
Hey, how about battle here for 4th? Eisler having to hold off Pfeffer. I don't think he's going to be able to hold off Pfeffer. Pfeffer has a good run as they head down into turn 1. Pfeffer is going to move into that spot. And that was 5th place, excuse me.
So Christopher Pfeffer, despite not being sure how his points are going to come out today, is certainly racing well. That's a bit of a shame that he won't be able to get maximum or maybe potentially even points at all, considering how he's running. We ride on board with Eisler now, looking up ahead. They're starting to bring in Hortal back in 7th. This is not the best run we've seen from Christian Eisler. Remember, he started, well, actually, I should say he started in 5th. He's down to 6th, but he should have been higher than this based on how his first 2 laps went.
Should have been, but, you know, racing's different. I am really impressed, though, by Christopher Pfeffer here so far. I mean, yeah, there's uncertainty about how things are going to turn out, but he's making the most of it right now, and that's great. I mean, a racer's going to race, and, you know, with uncertainty, you might as well make the most of it.
Seeing Garrido blink out again. Now, we had this before where he's lost connection, and then he came back after a long time.
Yeah, he just popped back on here.
And he's back again, yeah.
And, you know, a lot of those positions that he's gained, a lot of those guys have not been fighting with him on it.
Whoa, we got a big accident there coming down the Kettle Bottoms. Is that Villegas? Yeah, that was Villegas.
Villegas.
He's kind of stuck sideways.
The kink. Kink got him.
And it's a miracle this is a single car incident. Oh, wow. Who was that? My goodness. I think that was Sean Romig.
You know, he just catches that grass just a touch, and saw this quite a bit in practice. And it's, yeah, it sends you for a ride, and there's not much you can do. You're going to hit something. It's just going to be a question of how hard.
Wow. Great onboard there from Sean.
We're going to need a new driver's suit there in the pits.
Good job from him keeping the car under control there on the grass in one of the fastest parts of the course. Let's head back to Eisler because Hortal has already gotten by for that 6th position. I think this pass, actually, where did this take place? Yeah, this was in turn 1, and this involved contact. Boy, yeah, they were racing very, very tight. That's Hortal in the Porsche. Eisler in the Ferrari. He gives him just enough room, but they were so close that sent him with a small shove to the outside. And no harm, no foul. I wonder if we could check on our leaders, because Modoff, after losing as much as a second, has cut it back down to 5/10. He's starting to come back to form here.
You know, and I think we were wondering about this too. Last week, whether or not he was hanging back behind him to save fuel or something. I don't think that's the case here today. I think it's a little bit of yo-yo action. Just catches up to him and not able to get it, do anything. Kind of falls off of him a little bit, not intentionally. Gets back up to him. And Modoff just needs that one good run to just completely clear him.
Could be a case that his set works better after a few laps, or it could be the weather, because I just glanced. It's up to 97 degrees Fahrenheit now. It's gone up a lot very quickly.
Yeah, it has. And seeing more sun over the course of the track, too. So maybe what Acosta wants to see is another cloud move over top of us.
Let's head back to 9th place, because we got almost a side-by-side battle between Espinoza and Cal Quinn.
Well, you say almost. It was side-by-side just a little while ago. Espinoza is looking to come back on him here. Oh!
That was a late defense, but fair game. And Cal Quinn's going to keep Espinoza behind, but he was a shallow entry into the corner. Behind them, a big slide from Fredes as well. Espinoza doesn't have enough straightaway speed to try and get him into turn 6. Stays with it.
Yeah, it could be considered late, but it was also very gradual. It wasn't like he yanked the wheel over to try to defend there. He just kind of let the car list over there, so it was telegraphed. So everybody was able to stay out of each other, which is good. But man, he's covered by those CL Racing teammates right there, with Fredes behind Espinoza and Cal Quinn in front of him.
That's what Paul Tracy would call the Pruitt fade. Meanwhile, now down to 0.2 of a second between Modoff and Acosta as they come over Bill Mitchell Bend. We start to lose the sun again. Goes behind a cloud.
Hey, David Duino, just a minute ago, went for a crazy ride, rumbling, tumbling. I don't know if we're able to get it.
Yeah, let's see if we can find the replay here. This is up into turn 6, it looks like.
Yeah, coming out of turn 6 here. Don't know who the...
Oh, yes. Wow.
Yeah, it just catches him just right.
Not sure who that was, but
Trungale
certainly caused some issues. Ah, okay. Meanwhile, back to our leader. This is Acosta here, being chased by Modoff. They've gotten 5 seconds over Anthony Pisano at this point. We're only on lap 8, 15 minutes into this thing. Down through turn 5 once more. Modoff drops off a little bit compared to what we saw. It was down to 0.2 of a second for a moment. Not nearly that close now.
That last time by there, I mean, and like you could tell that Modoff's putting the pressure on Abner Acosta because his times are starting to fall off just a touch. But I honestly think, just looking through the field, the second fastest car on the racetrack was Paulo Munoz. So, that's interesting. It wasn't Acosta, and of course Modoff was the fastest car on the racetrack. He's got tremendous pace here right now.
So Munoz certainly has a spade of speed right now. Started in 9th. He's up to 4th. He's got about 2 seconds to get up to Pisano. Oh, and that's Munoz. That is out of the kink.
That was. I commentated cursing him bad. Sorry about that.
We both were talking about how good he was doing. Just a wheel off. That ever since they've lowered the grip on the grass in a recent build, that turn has been nasty.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, you're just not going to hit something there. And usually you're going to hit something hard, just like what Munoz did. I mean, that Ferrari's all tore up. It's done for the day.
Okay, Christopher Pfeffer. He's up to 4th now. And he's taken it a bit by attrition. Portal as well gets promoted to 5th. He started in 10th. So this has been a good day for the number 59.
With also just doing some quick looking, I think that last time by, he was the second fastest car on the racetrack. Your fastest car that time was Abner Acosta.
All right. Quick laps seem to be swapping around up at the front. Everybody's pushing hard at this point. You can see we've been, the track has been changing much more drastically than I'm used to in recent times.
Now it's down to 95, so now cloud's moving back over. It's starting to get a little bit cooler. This is nuts. I'm loving it.
Keeping the drivers on their toes for sure. Did somebody iRacing?
Yeah, there's somebody around. Brett Thurman's around right now.
Thurman gets it going. Just hit the wall in a solo incident. Up in 8th, Andre Espinoza and Horatio Calquin in a very close fight for this position. And they're not too far ahead of Fredes, who I believe has gained, let's see, he started 13th, he's in 10th. I thought he had gained a few more positions than that, but certainly has been looking quick. They survived the kink in this group. Everybody down into Canada corner. Espinoza there leading the train that you're watching. That's Calquin on screen, second in line. This is going to be the critical part of the lap, coming off the final corner, coming up the hill. It's the longest straightaway that you've got. Calquin with a decent run. Not enough really that we're going to see him gain too much on the 87.
Yeah, he's going to be too far back here to do much. That last time by, Espinoza was 4 thousandths of a second faster than him, so pretty nearly equal there as they made their way around on lap 9, now working lap 10 for the day.
You can see how much the draft is allowing them to really keep up with one another, and they're all staying right in each other's tire tracks, trying to pull that little bit of slipstream. The downhill tricky braking into turn 5 doesn't produce any passes this time. Keep an eye out for Leif Peterson back there in 12th. He's going to be hungry for a better result here today. Though the pit window has pretty much opened at this point, we can tell you from experience, don't expect many drivers to take stops early, at least from what we've seen in many races previously.
Yeah, especially your leaders. Most of them will wait to the very tail end of the pit window, try to take that short stop.
So far, we've already had a number of DNFs. Gary Schilling's out of the race. Paulo Munoz has taken repairs. He might try and come back in. Oh, Garrido. Garrido is up and over, and he's actually in the middle of the track out of the kink. And I think he's going to get out of the way in time. Someone got him before that, though.
Yeah, he was still having connection issues, so not able to see what initially happened, at least here on my end, until he was sliding into the wall. That car that got him was Romig. And then another car hit him, and that was Dzube. Although I don't see any damage on Dzube's car.
That was another monster hit. Fortunately, with his connection issues, we can't really see much with it.
And he had also just fallen back a little while ago. I saw him trying to pass some cars that he had already passed, and I couldn't see why he fell back. So it could be the connection issue related there too. So, but Greedo is out of this thing.
That's going to be our latest DNF, and that means 32 cars are still running out of our 36 starters, it looks like, because I don't think Ken Huber actually made it to the grid. But we're watching the top 2 once again. Modov still chasing Acosta. It's hovering at about 0.5 of a second. It hasn't changed much in the last, I'd say, about 3 or 4 laps for these drivers. This is probably the calm before the storm between these two. Let's look a little bit farther down at some of the better action. Fredes leading Lavender in 10th place with Peterson very, very close behind.
Starting to see some of these guys that haven't shown a ton of pace start to get it out in the 201s. Espinoza's down in the 201s. Eisler is. Pfeffer has always been down in the 201s. So seeing a little bit of speed toward the end of the run for these guys.
Also seeing the temperatures the highest they've been, at least while I've been looking.
Now we're up to 99.
So things are pretty drastically higher than they were in the warm-up. If any driver tuned their car into those temperatures, probably having to deal with not ideal handling out there. Up the hill, though, Fredez is dealing with the pressure from behind quite well. Lavender not able to attack quite yet, even though he's been close at moments. Leif Peterson as well, being kept at arm's length. Watch from Peterson's perspective here, the Porsche chasing two Ferraris. They're on his nose. This is another big corner coming off of 3 down the moraine sweep, trying to get yourself a launch so that you can make an attack into 5. So far, everybody in this group, though, at quite a stalemate. Or maybe this could be by design. We could be seeing Peterson and Lavender trying to save a little bit of fuel behind Fredez.
Might as well. I mean, they just don't seem anxious to make a move. Guess maybe just trying to do that little bit, but they also really seem to be very close on pace too. So, it's the old adage that catching them is one thing, passing them is another. They may not just be able to pass anybody right now.
That's a good point. We have seen a number of drivers stay close, least of which, of course, is Abner Acosta and Carl Modoff, not least of which, rather. They see them on screen right now. Already starting to approach the halfway mark as they come off the final corner. Neither one going to duck into the pits this time through. You can see in the rear view screen for Carl Modoff that there is no sign of Anthony Pisano at this point. At 6.5 seconds behind, the 255 has dropped well off and is probably more concerned at keeping Christopher Pfeiffer away from him. Pfeffer, rather, so that Pisano can get himself a podium. Something interesting to note as well, if things finish how they are, the Iceman will finish off the podium for the first time this season here in round 4.
Yeah, that is it's very true. I mean, still coming home, he can still try to get a top 5, which is nothing to complain about, but still want every point you can get.
Yep, he's
I think even to get that top 5 today, something has to happen to somebody in the top 5, because there's already a pretty good gap between Hertal and him, and I think that he's been losing ground to Eisler. I mean, Hertal's been gaining ground on Eisler. He's pulling away. That's what I'm trying to say. He's pulling away. Woof. Nice if I could talk.
Yeah, he's got about a second between himself and Christian. So not impossible, especially depending on the pit stops, too. What can the 727 do strategy-wise? And you're right, a 6th place isn't bad. It's consistency should be on his side, if anything. But he also needs wins, I feel like, along with that, especially if he wants to try and compete with Modoff and Eisler, or Modoff and Acosta, rather.
Right. Hey, let's give some love to some of the guys in the back. Corallo is back there in 18th position. He's fighting off Duhamel. Duhamel fighting off Mundy. And Mundy fighting off Ray. So these guys have been going at it here for quite a bit. And you can tell because, the white on the cars is really dirty. So that means they've been fighting really hard. Is that what that means? No? Okay. I just thought maybe it was springtime in Wisconsin with the bugs.
Yeah, well, honestly, you're not wrong, because if you're right behind the car ahead, you're going to get all that dirt and rubber kicked up onto it. So. Oh yeah,
and that's one thing that iRacing added a while back that makes things look real realistic. But I do think they need to add the bug model 2.0, and add some slightly different colors to the grid that you get. Nobody? Okay. Crickets.
The Lotus 49 drivers, unfortunately, going to get a teeth full of grasshoppers, I guess. But up the hill, this looks like Mundy might have a run at Duhamel. He's getting closer, but he's going to run out of straightaway by the time they get to the braking here into turn 1.
I really think that pack there is much in the same way as that other pack we were watching earlier on. Actually, hey, let's go back up. Ninth position between Fredes and Cal Quinn. Fredes is going to get him.
Down the inside of turn 5. He makes it happen. Lavender not able to use that to try and overtake Cal Quinn himself. And then don't forget Lee Peterson back there. He must have dropped back because he looks like he's not anywhere close enough to what a battle in front of him would merit here. Positions stay the same, so Cal Quinn isn't able to return the favor back to Fredes. Down through the hurry downs and into the carousel. This, of course, envelops 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, this group that we see on screen. Now down through the kink and into the kettle bottoms. This is essentially 3 Ferraris and a Porsche. Is that the name of the next comedy coming out?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be the parody of Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be Adam Sandler will be in it, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll try to, we're waiting to hear from a few of the other guys that he normally goes with.
It'll be a CG version of Chris Farley as well.
We'll get Rob Schneider in there saying you can do it. He'll be the crew chief.
Oh, we got to run though. Cal Quinn. Oh, but Cal Quinn lifts. He definitely could have been side by side with Fredes down here into turn 1, but elected not to push it.
Seeing some of those guys that we were just watching a few minutes ago coming down pit road. So starting to see some of the back markers come in. That's usually a sign that we might see some other guys starting to come down pit road here in the next few. And of course, into the last 15 minutes of this race now.
Last 30 minutes, really. Meanwhile, Lavender having a look at Cal Quinn. Cal Quinn takes it in shallow, manages to whoa the car up in time, but he's feeling very threatened by the 42.
Sorry, I don't know why I had a 15 minutes on the brain. You're right. It's definitely 30. It's an hour-long race. Come on, Adam. Get with the program.
Fredes is loving this battle behind him because it's allowing him to pull away from Cal Quinn so that he doesn't have any more threats like he had down into turn 1. Lavender, I'm sure, would really love to get into the top 10 and add that to his stats. We ride on board with the Ferrari, looking up ahead, coming up to the kink. Really been calamity corner this race. Both of them get through clean this time, though. We haven't been missing anything up front for those wondering. Acosta and Modoff hovering still at about 5/10 apart.
There's some pretty good passing zones here, and it kind of amazes me. Yeah, we've seen some good passing here today too, but the amount of guys that are simply running nose to tail and just going through the motions. As Tremblay, I think, is going to be the first person here in the top 15 to come down. He's pitting in from 13th. But, I mean, he was part of that pack that was just running nose to tail, not really making a move on each other.
This might be a smart move then, because you floated the theory that some drivers might not be able to make the overtakes that they want. The wake does have an effect on these cars. There is some downforce to be had in pace. Tremblay down to his stall. Carollo is currently coming through, looks like the kettle bottoms. Justin Rame is in.
Yeah, I've been following Justin here today, and as he's making his way down pit road, just not able to recover a ton of positions that he lost. He's only been able to make it up to 24th position, starting in 3rd. Heart just breaks for him after what happened there at the beginning of this race, but he's getting what he can. It's just not a lot that I thought he was, at least I was hoping that he would be able to.
Same. Yeah, I would have liked to see a better result. Tremblay, though, is back out after his pit stop. Really no dramas there. Scheduled 14-second stop, and he's back running in 25th. But that just shows you how many positions you can lose by pitting, how many cars you're put behind, even though they will have to pit themselves. If you catch them, then that could slow you up.
And by the way, for those following, Garrido and Munoz have just completely retired from the race. They are officially done. We were thinking they might try to fix the cars, but if they would have fixed those cars, they would have been probably junk anyway, so they've decided to go ahead and call it a night.
Back to that battle for 10th place, being led by Fredes. Cal Quinn has regrouped and has run him down by a tenth or two, keeping Fredes honest, but also keeping Lavender behind as they return to the front stretch once again. I wonder if we'll see maybe Leif Peterson duck into the pit lane. Nope, all four of them are going to stay out. And they're being joined by Sean Romig now, who I wonder if we could see if he's got any sort of damage. Not seeing anything on the fenders here from onboard. It looks pretty clean. He was the one you said that hit Garrido, right?
Yeah, and but he hit him and he launched him, but at the same time he also kind of blended through him as well during the contact. I think Romig and I want to say it was Tremblay. They got away. Both of them got away real lucky thanks to Garrido's connection issues. They kind of more ghosted through him. Garrido read the contact. They probably didn't as much.
Well, right now this has allowed him to stay with this group, what is essentially fighting for 9th now. So there's a lot of positions that could be on his platter.
Yeah, we talk a lot about netcode. It's the exact same thing. Except in this case, instead of creating the contact, it erased the contact. So it worked in their favor as opposed to against them. So it's one of those ones that doesn't always happen.
Fredes has now lost even more time to Cal Quinn, who gets it down to 0.3 of a second. He's really coming back at him. That's not what Fredes wants to see. Through the kink, are all five going to get by? Yes, they are. Just kind of have to hold your breath now when we watch these cars swing through there each and every lap. All right, coming back to the pit entry one more time. This 5-car battle for 9th. Are we going to see anybody pull an alternate strategy? 25 minutes left to go. Somebody came in there on our cameras, and we are going to get Fredes in.
Yeah, along with Peterson. And
okay.
Box in front of them. No sign of our leaders wanting to pit, but that's not surprising.
Now, Tremblay right now is coming through the kettle bottoms. So this is a long pit lane. It might sound like he's far away, but the 27 could yet be racing with these few drivers that are pitting. There you see him out of Canada Corner and now up and over Bill Mitchell Bend. Looks like Gok is out. Fredes close to being done with his stop. He gets going. So does Peterson. Tremblay's up the hill.
I think Trungale ended up sliding off the track in front of Acosta and Modoff. We don't need to go to it, but they did slow them both down, but it slowed them both down equally, so they are okay.
Tremblay does come out behind both Fredes and Peterson, though he's relatively close to Leaf. Just about less than a second between them.
Actually, I think we might need to go to the lead. I think I'm just reading the language here from Modoff's car. I think he's starting to get a little racier as we get closer to the pit stop here.
We've seen that sometimes, Adam, where drivers only try to pass once they get close to the pit stop window and they want to be ahead by the time they stop. Oh, but he's going to take an alternate strategy because Acosta pits and Modoff doesn't after it looked like he was coming in with him.
I like it. I like it.
Do what he doesn't. Pisano pits, Pfeffer pits. Ooh,
see, and Modoff knew what he was doing the entire time. His foot never lifted off the gas.
You know, I wonder if Modoff was saving fuel, though, because, let's see, Eisler stays out.
Absolutely, he was.
But, yeah, a lot of our front runners are in, and that usually tends to imply that that's as far as they can go. See, we're also got Dzube staying out after his spin very early in the race. Going to be able to go one extra lap. Acosta's taken his stop and he gets going, and he is in clean air. Nobody near him. Everybody else behind also returns to the track, gets off the pit limiter, and screams away. I'm not sure if this will help Modoff or not, though, because Acosta has nobody around him. The only way that it'll help the 948 is if he's, I'd say, significantly faster.
Well, we'll have to see. But once we get through this pit stop here, I think the next battle on the racetrack is probably going to be Pfeffer and Pisano. They came out right next to each other, so that'll be one of those things that'll be interesting to see here. So Acosta's still in clean air. We're thinking Modoff will have to come by this time. He just got out of Canada, heading up through Bill Mitchell.
Just as the sun comes back out once again, around the final corner, the 948 is heading in. Just to tell you how far back Christian Eisler is, how far he fell off since the start. He's just now coming around the final corner now. So Eisler also on his final lap of the stint and heads up pit lane. Acosta is heading out of Canada corner as Modoff just heads into his pit stall right about now.
And of course, the very, very long front straightaway. Abner Acosta, though, he's starting to head up it. Past the pit entry wall, heading to the start-finish line.
Modoff's going. It's a very similar stop time between them.
Oh, Modoff's going to come out in front unless Acosta dives for it. He doesn't. Move Modoff to P1.
Wow. Carl really knew what he was doing. And last time we saw this, when Carl came out ahead in the pit stops at Imola, he managed to stay ahead, and that was an off there behind for Abner Acosta, just dipping the wheels off into the dirt. He's clearly pushing. He knows he needs to keep up with the 948.
Yeah, and he's losing a lot of ground. He's going to have to go for it. Another guy that I think might be going for it, I talked about it a minute ago, I think Pfeffer's getting ready to attack on Pisano here.
Yeah, there's not much between them. They're down into turn 5 themselves. Pisano a whole 8 seconds back from the top 2. This is a battle for the last step of the podium, and unless there's a wreck from P1 or P2, that's as high as these two will be able to go. They've also got no one from behind to worry about. Portal a whole 7 seconds down the road. So will give us some great excitement here in the last 20 minutes. P1 not settled, and P3 still very up in the air here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. Down the kettle bottoms into Canada corner as we continue to ride on board with Pisano ahead of Pfeffer. Pfeffer potentially just racing for pride today since he's in the wrong car. And he's adapted well to this BMW, that's for sure.
Hey, Brett Thurman fans out there, he was involved in a single car accident. He had to take a tow. His day might be done. Nothing we need to go to, but just want to let people know.
Up the hill, Pisano at about 0.4 of a second ahead of Pfeffer. Chris just doesn't seem like he's willing to try and make a dive here. He's way, way far back for one thing. Acosta's been yo-yoing, though. Was up to 1 second back from Modoff, and then he gets back down to 0.8 of a second. Now it's up to 0.9 of a second.
You know, that's kind of how it was just in reverse for those two earlier on in the first stint. Like right there at the start of the race, it was kind of like that with Modoff, in second, and Acosta in the lead. So I'm not calling it done yet. When this happened at Imola, Modov was able to pretty much start running away very gradually, but this time around, Acosta's trying to hang around.
He doesn't want to see it happen again. He knows he's been beat in both races so far, and he's got to start doing some stuff to overtake Karl Modov and to beat him to a championship for the second time. Last season, Modov wasn't here to challenge Abner, but on Abner's first time of winning the championship, it was with this very man in that 948 Ford. Once again into Canada corner. You're right about him holding station. He's keeping him honest. It's still at about 9/10 of a second. And Modov is not immune from mistakes.
Ooh, in fact, he kind of slid his way through Bill Mitchell there a little bit. Now, it wasn't a big slide. It might cost him a 10th or two here coming to the line. And as I say that, that gap actually extends a little bit out to almost a second flat. So I don't know. Maybe Modov's been watching a little bit too much dirt track racing, thinking that he's got to slide through some of these corners. I don't know, but it worked out for him that time.
Yeah, certainly didn't seem to hinder him. Pfeffer's down to about 3/10 of a second now. Wonder what the third place battle is going to look like pretty shortly. We'll watch from the 66 as we ride on board. Let's see if he can get the launch off of 3. Looks decent, and he is going to get that slipstream, but I don't think he's close enough yet again.
Hey, how about pass for position? Dzube getting around Lavender for 10th. Move Dzube up into the top 10.
Dzube on a recovery drive, started in 7th. As you mentioned, this is a 10th place that'll give him. If we could get to the replay here, it's coming into turn 1. Just starts to gain on him. No defense down to the inside. Textbook maneuver. And the light blue number 21 gets back within the top 10. Only a second and a half up to Fredes, so certainly could find himself a couple more before all is said and done. You see him giving chase. Next on the road for him, Ignacio Fredes in the number 96 Ferrari. Closer than that is the battle between Pfeffer and Pisano still.
Yeah, I was just watching him there through Canada. Pfeffer had a really good run on him going down the back straight, but ended up just running out of room. If he can get a good run here, he might be able to do something with him on the front straightaway. I don't think he had as good of a run as what he was hoping for, though.
Another strange incident. We don't need to go to it because it involves another car disappearing. Horatio Calquin slowed up coming into the kink, very similar to what we saw before with Diego, and he disappears. And then suddenly he gets going again, and he's down in 17th.
Yeah, and falling with a very destroyed Ferrari. So he might be out of this one. He gets crabbing. He can't drive straight.
So it really was similar to Garrido then.
I didn't think that entire team has just been bit by the kink here today, because it looked like when his car disappeared, that's what he was heading for.
Yeah. That'd be my guess, especially with that heavy of damage. So we continue to watch this fight for third. Pfeffer on his roof, just behind Pisano and the red Ferrari. Down through turn 7. And Christopher Pfeffer falls back just a 10th or 2. Doesn't seem to like that portion of the course.
Yeah, but Acosta, meanwhile, got it back up to about a half second, down to about a half second, falling back to about 0.6 of a second now. So, that lead, the distance between first and second, continuing to do that yo-yo thing.
And we've only got 13 minutes left on the clock now. I guarantee you that Acosta is starting to feel that pressure. to try and attack, to get close enough to attack on Karl Modoff. Sometimes drivers need a rival that can really push them to greater heights. I think that's what Modoff and Acosta are doing to each other right now.
Yeah, and I'm because especially if you're in Acosta's seat, you figure I haven't seen Modoff go off that much. He probably very likely will have that less than 3x bonus point. He's going to have the fastest lap bonus point. Oh, and by the way, you know, he didn't start on pole though, so Acosta got that bonus point. So there's only so much that Acosta can capitalize on, but one way he can do it is by trying to take that race win.
Best way to beat your opponent is to just finish ahead of them on track. He's got a decent run here. This is the closest we've seen it, down to 0.2 of a second. Breaking into turn 5, Acosta comes back into the swing of things.
One slip up, that's all it takes.
Cannot imagine the pressure that can be felt inside these cockpits. Oh, did we have a problem with Fredes? Nope, we did not.
No,
we
no,
just had a
Fredes
great drive from
and
Dzube.
Dzube just got him, I believe, on the outside there, going through 1 and 2. They were side by side. Fredes is going to try to come back on him here. Dzube's going to go defensive, force him around the outside for Fredes. Fredes can't clear him, side by side. Give each other room. Oh, that's a great battle here.
Still going to have the inside into turn 6. This could be where he seals the deal. And no, Fredes is going to make him work hard for it. In fact, now Fredes has the inside of a swift right-hander. And once again, it switches back. Left-hand corner now, coming down into 8. Fredes deeper on the brakes than Dzube, but Dzube has the desired line. Oh, and that's the carousel. Going around the outside is going to be extremely tough, but I think Dzube's up to the challenge as he starts to pull ahead at first, and he keeps a little bit ahead. If he can get the momentum off the corner, he does not. To the inside, Fredes. Are we going to see 2 wide through the kink? No, they finally give up the ghost.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, that would have been... Whew. And now Dzube having to hold off Guac. And, of course, you got Lavender back there as well that tried to make a play. Ooh, Guac backs off big. He had to squeeze out those 3 guys behind him. And Fredes is off. Fredes is going to put a couple wheels off through the dirt going through Canada. And that's going to give Dzube the position.
That's exactly what he needed. He finally takes that 8th place away.
Christopher Pfeffer does not have a front end. Something happened to him.
And he's going to take a tow.
Oh, it was contact. He was trying to complete that pass on Pisano. He hit the grass, slowed up in front of Pisano. Pisano had nowhere to go except into the back of him.
Yeah, here we got the replay. Very, very tight fighting. Great move, though, by Pfeffer. If he hadn't from there, it looked like it was just a bobble from Pfeffer.
Yeah, there was just nowhere for Pisano to go.
Oh, and more problems with Fredes here? Yes, indeed. His own teammate. Gok is to his inside. Let's see if he can finish it, though. They're coming up to the braking of turn 5 at the end of the Moraine sweep. He's fully ahead, and here comes Lavender as well. He gets his nose in by the apex. Fredes fends him off successfully. Look at how many friends this has brought into the picture. Lavender, Romig, Peterson, Tremblay. Romig actually got a spot away from Peterson at one point through Canada corner. Oh, and another off there. That was Gok getting ready to hand it right back to his teammate and allowing Dzube to pull a handy little gap.
Dzube wants to see those guys get racy for sure, and it's paying off for him. Man, this thing just really did explode at the end.
It was a lot of fun, especially here in the mid-pack. Riding on board with Fredes. But it looks like Gok is going to hold him off. Just behind them, you can see in that rear view screen a black and white Ferrari that is absolutely hounding Fredes as well. front stretch a little bit wide. Eduardo looks like he's feeling the pressure now that he's gotten past. Overdriving the car at various corners. And that compromised his exit. He's already going defensive up the front stretch. Fredez being forced to go the long way around here up into turn 1. Didn't work out for Pfeffer, and it's not going to work out for Fredez either.
Yeah, I thought Fredez might try to do the over-under there, and it didn't quite play out the way he was hoping for. He's still right there, though, and this is a nice long straightaway leading up into turn 5 for him to try to get a run. In fact, here he comes. He's got a big run.
But once again, being forced to the outside line. Gloves are off between these teammates. Deeper on the brakes for Fredez. Gets a little bit of a nose ahead, but can't keep it there. And once again falls behind, goes for the over-under. Actually gets his nose in once again, but he's not brave enough to keep it in there.
I don't think I would have been either. I couldn't tell exactly what Gawk was going to do there. So it was a wise move by Fredez to try to back out of it and try to get him here in the next few corners.
He starts to get side by side again, though. Don't count out the likes of Lavender, trying to pounce on that. He is extremely close to come off of the carousel. Do or die moment here through the kink. Who's quick? Lavender looked pretty good. Don't think he's going to catch him enough to be able to attack here into Canada corner, and indeed he's not able to. Gap up at the front between Modoff and Acosta is back up to 0.6 of a second. They've repelled each other once again. You take a glance at that. Doesn't mean that Modoff is out of the woods. He certainly has to keep clean, keep safe, and be fast to stay ahead of the number 5. Let's leave that battle now until it gets a little bit closer. Back to Lavender chasing Fredez, chasing Eduardo Avila Gawk.
Being very, very conservative here as of late, too. Tremblay, by the way, he's just set sail on those guys. I mean, he's got himself a nice big league now. Unless something happens to him, he isn't going to fall back into the clutches of these guys.
Tremblay's at the
Dzube. Dzube is who I meant to say.
Yeah,
Dzube.
yeah.
Aha! We're going back to that whole thing where apparently I can't talk tonight.
Dzube, actually, interestingly, is back where he started, of all places. So he can't be too upset about that. Of course, there's some drivers who had some attrition ahead of him, so he should have finished higher if he hadn't have had those issues. But again, with nothing lost and nothing gained, it's a bit of a neutral day. You want a driver that's in no man's land, let's give a little bit of love to poor number 87, Andre Espinoza. 10 seconds behind Hortal, 7 seconds ahead of Dzube. Andre is just kind of racing on his lonesome, and, well, there's no lap traffic yet. So this is just him cruising.
Should be all right for him as long as the kink doesn't end up biting him somewhere. It's gotten a few Ferraris today.
That's true. Can't relax quite yet.
And Ferraris and a BMW. It's 8 cars alive.
Watching from onboard Tremblay, the back of the train that's fighting for 8th position. Peterson, Romig, Lavender, and Fredez, along with Gawk, ahead of him. Come around onto the Moraine sweep. He's looking for that slipstream. He's got a lot of cars that are giving it to him. Apparently not enough. We might have a pass, though, between Fredez and the number 45. Eduardo stays defensive there. You can see as he breaks down the hill. And that holds Fredes off, at least for the time being, but how many more laps can he do that? We have to go for 2.5 laps of repeating that defense here.
Our leaders are taking 2 to go here right now, and there's still the same distance between them. Nothing's really changed up there.
It's got to be frustrating for Acosta. I almost wonder if we're going to start seeing him overdrive the track a little bit, and it's in a last-ditch effort to just try and see if he can get up with him.
You know, I said that distance stayed the same between them, but he actually had a really good run down the front straightaway. His overall lap time that last time by was about 0.2 of a second faster. Well, about 1,500ths faster. But even then, yeah, that won't be enough here. He's got to have a lot more leaps and bounds to be able to get up there, but it's still progress.
Yeah, progress is progress. And again, a half-second mistake, that's all Acosta needs. He didn't have those couple tenths. That could make the difference in the end. You can see a lot of the cars coming across, getting that 2 to go marker now, including that big group once again, heading down into turn 1. We're starting to see Eduardo drift back and forth and weave the snake across the track, trying to break the draft a little bit and give him that tiny edge. Talk about feeling stuck. These drivers have been so tantalizingly close, but have not been able to do much with it. In fact, they're starting to drop Tremblay and Peterson, I'd say.
Yeah.
Ooh, down to the inside there.
Ooh, big move. Oh, and almost loses it for his trouble. Romig just diving it in there on Lavender, and it looks like he might get the spot here. So good move from him.
Will indeed. That gets him 10th position, and he now sets his sights up to the pair ahead of him with Fredes and Gok. Down and through the carousel. Track really starts to drop elevation here till it comes out the bottom and into the kettle bottoms, lowest part of the track. Nothing doing between those two.
Fredes almost lost it on the kink. That was an incredible save.
Let's take a look at that on board. We are on the white flag lap, but there's really no fight between the top two right now, so we're not missing much. Right here, Fredes.
He did not want to be like the rest of his teammates.
Big save. Beautiful job.
I don't think he even lifted.
Richie Hearn says, when in doubt, flat out.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much about right there.
All right, you can see we're back live. And Carl Modoff leads Abner Acosta by about a second now. We're on him there, coming through the carousel. Acosta starting to lose a little bit of hope, it seems. One last time through the kink. Both of them safe, both of them out the other side. Carl Modoff has won the first 2 rounds of this season. First 2 that were raced, I should say. I know we keep saying we're on round 4. Fortunately, Montreal was canceled due to some server issues. Round 2 at Interlagos. Modoff wins with a little bit of luck. Then, with a lot of skill at Imola, he wins. And now at Road America, with some great strategy in the pits, he's going to take his 3rd victory. Abner Acosta settles for 2nd again. How about Pisano now, too? The Illinois driver comes off the final corner. He started this race in 6th, and he's going to get a podium for his worries. Eisler off the podium just barely, but with a 4th place. Not a bad showing. Hortal behind him to round out the top five. Let's head back to that battle we had, because it's coming through the final corner right now. Gok ahead. He gets a good launch. He is not going to be under threat, but Fredes might have Romig getting close, and Lavender actually has Peterson gaining. Peterson could get something here. He looks to the inside, but it's not there. Going to be a race for 16th as well. Duhamel and Rodriguez. Duhamel actually got himself a nice launch, and so the 617 should be safe. From there on back, no real battles, and 25 cars left on the lead lap. Another fascinating race here at Road America with a lot of drama. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Road America. Winner today, once again for the 3rd time in our 3 races this season, is Carl Modoff. A hat trick for him indeed, but it was awful close. There was only 2 seconds separating himself and Abner Acosta at the line. For most of the race, it was less than a second between them. So at least Acosta made him work for it. Pisano took 3rd place, but wow, was he way back, 21 seconds behind the leader. And all was said and done, Christian Eisler still racking in the good finishes with a 4th today. Another top 5 for him. Ignacio Hortal himself takes 5th place, and Andre Espinoza from 18th to 6th. Good run up. Tyler DeZube, early problems, and then found himself only able to get to 7th by the end of things. Still, his recovery is admirable. Eduardo Guac finished in 8th, with Ignacio Fredes in 9th, and Sean Romig rounding out your top 10, climbing from 22nd.
Yeah, up 12 spots, just like Andres Espinoza was. Also, relatively good day for Caleb Lavender, Leif Peterson. They were both in that big pack right there that we were watching a lot in the second half of the race. Jan-Marc Tremblay up there in 13th position. William Janssen in 14th. Robert Elder in 15th position. Sean Duhamel coming home in 16th today. Kenny Rodriguez, Jeff Corallo, Justin Ream, and Mike Burnett round up your top 20.
21st goes to Chase Mundy with James Hebb in 22nd. Then you got Donald Olson finishing 23rd. A lot of drivers we didn't really get to cover just because there was so much fighting up towards the front. Jay Steffi, we did see, and he wound up 24th. And Joey Trungale was our last driver on the lead lap in P25. Everybody from here on down was a lap down or more, with at least about 5 or 6 DNFs this race. Our winner, though, for the third time this season is Carl Modoff. Carl, that had to be absolutely tense in the cockpit. It was less than a second for just about the entire race.
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, I had it muted, so I missed the very beginning, but I heard the end, and yeah, me and Abner were messaging back and forth. I think I held my breath the whole hour. I had a couple parts on the track where I was really strong. Canada corner was really key, and he had a bunch of the track where he was really strong. So it was just kind of like who made the least amount of mistakes. And he got me here a couple seasons ago when I made a mistake with like 3 or 4 to go. So just kept reminding myself that I had it if I just didn't screw up at the end, and I was managed to stay calm enough there towards the end to pull it off. So super stoked. That was an awesome race. A lot of fun.
That's a good reminder of that race, and definitely some redemption here for you on that one. So you've got a hat trick of wins. Things are looking good. Abner is really showing some speed here now. That was like you said, you stuck with him, and obviously your strategy worked. But boy, you almost had to be faultless all race long.
Yeah, he was really quick, especially at the beginning. I knew he was going to be super fast when the tires were new, and I was just going to try and hang on. But the first few laps, he was, pulling away. I didn't think I was going to be able to leave him hanging his draft, and then kind of got it together. And luckily, I think he made a mistake, and I kind of caught back up. But yeah, he's super quick. The rest of the season is going to be really tough. I got 3 wins, but I'm not going to, rest on that. Unfortunately, I will be missing Daytona, so that's kind of a bummer. I'll be using that as my drop, but should make the rest of the rounds after that.
Well, the next one, we're taking these straightaways here at Road America, and we're turning it up to 11. It's going to be Le Mans. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, it is Le Mans. Okay, cool. So I'm going to miss the Le Mans will be really tough if that's the 2 weeks from now. Sorry, I don't know the schedule that well. It'll be another tough race. It's one thing to say I'm just going to stick behind him and draft him and try and do the same strategy, but he's going to know that trick already, so it's going to be tough, and I guess kind of just play it by ear and have options going into the race.
All right, well, we'll watch out for you, and again, congratulations on win number 3.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Just want to say shout out to Evolution Sim Sport. I got a new home over there with those guys, and we're on the 24-hour Daytona, so looking forward to my first endurance race. Thanks for the broadcasters and organizers, and I'll see you guys in a couple.
Best of luck there in the 24. That was Carl Modoff, our winner here today. Adam has caught up with Abner Acosta, who led most of the start, but not the end.
Yeah, Abner, pretty much the tale of 2 races for you here today. I mean, first half of the race, it was all you. Second half of the race ended up being all Carl. And the difference ended up just being a pit strategy out there, and maybe Modoff being able to hang out that extra lap.
Yeah, it was a very tough race. Obviously, me and Modoff again. It was very tense the whole race, and I saved in front of him. So I don't think it's kind of normal that he would have came out ahead. He would have saved more, but I think I did good to stay on the draft. But I just think at the end he just had more consistency on his laps, and I think that's what got him doing.
Yeah, and of course, you bring up that again. Just kind of, I told you this last week too. It just kind of seems like you're playing bridesmaid, but at the end of the day, though, I mean, it's still okay because that still keeps you in touch in the points. And now next week we go to another big track with Le Mans. What's your feelings about there?
Le Mans is all right. It's not my favorite track, but I think I'll do all right. I'm sure Moto will be there too. So side by side. So we'll see.
Of course, there will be even more key to stay in the draft. Hey, Abner, good job finishing second. Anybody like to thank here real quick?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, Vivana Racing, and I want to thank also Andrew for watching and supporting as well. I know he's probably there in the chat. and all of my group at MMBR, and you guys for hosting, and ButtKicker and SimSA. Thank you.
That was Abner Acosta, our second place finisher here today. And we've got third place finisher Anthony Pisano, who started in 6th and found himself in 3rd by the end of the first lap. Anthony, let's start out with what caused you to get into 3rd. You had a front row seat to the incident between Garrido and now I lost the name of the other driver. Munoz, that's who it was, I believe.
I think it was Justin, my teammate.
Yeah, it was Justin. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me on that. Between Justin and Diego, do you care to weigh in on it, or do you want to stay away from that?
Oh, God, I was just watching it, and the sweat was starting to pour. I'm like, something's going to happen. And so I saw them down low, so I went high, and I started braking early, but I was still concerned about people coming right into the back of me. But they got loose, and I was just looking at on my left monitor, and I just see Justin going flying. So I'm surprised a lot of people avoided that. It's tough for Justin. He was really, really fast, and I think he had a great shot with running with Abner and Carl. So it really stinks for him.
And speaking of being on the periphery of drama, you found yourself battling with Pfeffer, who was in the wrong car. Now, we haven't quite figured out exactly what's going to be happening penalty-wise with him, knowing that he was in the wrong car and he might either not get points or lose points in a penalty. Did you not want to fight him very hard? Did you kind of want to keep yourself at a distance, or were you willing to go all the way and get the fisticuffs out there?
Yeah, I was definitely ready to put the elbows out. I know the BMW is a little bit stronger here than the Ferrari, and going into this race, I wasn't really confident. I was like, all right, I'll be happy with the top 5 or top 6. But luck struck for me, and yeah, I feel bad after that turn 1. He got a little loose, and he checked up and slowed up, and I was right on his bumper. I had nowhere to go, so. I feel bad for that, but I think it would have been a really, really dramatic and pretty interesting ending between the two of us.
Yeah, it was fun to watch you two for sure, especially how tense it looked like for you two along with the leaders. So a podium here today, and with you sitting 6th in the points coming in, that should help jump you up at least a few positions. Do you think more podiums like that are going to be possible this season?
I'm trying. I got some new gear coming in, so whole new rig and pedals, and we'll see if that helps at all. Probably not, but we'll see.
I always love getting shiny new toys. Anybody you'd like to thank before you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank, you guys, first of all. You guys do a great broadcast. Very entertaining to watch. My teammates, they're great. I've been friends with them for a decent amount of time. And definitely our sponsors, Formula Hypersoft News, ButtKicker. We've been with them since we started playing Xbox 5 years ago. JL Designs, and the other one would be Abruzzi. We just started working with Abruzzi. They make great gloves and simulator boots too.
Didn't know simulator boots were a thing. I'm going to have to look into that. So that was Anthony Pisano, our 3rd place finisher here today at Road America, and it closes out our interviews. So it's time for us to thank the sponsors as well, starting off with Simulation Motorsports Affinity. If you want to check them out, you can find them at SIMMSA.net. They've been on board for a couple seasons now, so they're very, very loyal, and we appreciate them helping out PRL. Also, of course, to ButtKicker, as was mentioned by Anthony. ButtKicker.com is where you can find their products to try and up your sim rig. And then, of course, a big thank you goes to iRacing for putting us on IESN for another season. Make sure and subscribe. Very easy to do. Just click the big red subscribe button. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or check out our social media on Twitter. It's at GSR Channel. Facebook is /Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is at GSRC_Gram. We've got a merchandise channel that we encourage you to check out. That'll be gsrc.storenvy.com. We've got a link in the description below to catch some swag. And then next race, as we mentioned, heading over to France. That'll be at Le Mans, Tuesday, January 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Make sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.